Hello, friends, and welcome into a very special event, a very special occasion, a very special beginning. As I, Mike Mercado, am joined by the amazing Everett O'Neill, and we are here in the beginning of what should be an amazing run on nothing but Bears and the fandom, the amazingness. Yes, we are giddy because Everett O'Neill, my brother, what happened last night in the first round of the 2021 NFL Draft?
Something happened that I don't think any of us could have ever imagined witnessing in our lifetimes. Our beloved Chicago Bears traded with the New York Football Giants to go from 20th to 11th to draft a quarterback, a franchise altering quarterback named Justin Fields.
Wait. So a trade happened. The Bears were involved in it. It had to deal with a young quarterback.
Yeah, we've heard the story before. You know, the Bears traded up to try to get the quarterback.
But this one, wait, they did a good? Did they just do a good?
They did good.
the Chicago Bears did a good. That is right. They have potentially a franchise quarterback. And I guess that's where we're going to start this conversation, E-Train. And before we really go deep into this, in case anybody's wondering, Everett and I, we're in the quote unquote industry. We've gone through the roads and the miles, and we are grizzled young veterans. But we wanted to do this because Everett and I, back when we were youngsters, used to talk all about everything pop culture and sports. And I think this is something that we really enjoy doing. We love talking NFL. We love fantasy. We love the Chicago Bears. And for us to be able to be here, Everett, this idea of doing this podcast, finally getting it off the ground, and now it being a time in Bears fandom where we're excited. There's hope. There's still obviously blemishes, and we're going to go through some of the negatives and positives, but at the end of the day, you need a start. And I feel like for us to start this journey on our show the same time that a young man and a franchise are beginning their new journey, how do you feel about that, and kind of putting it all together from your radio career to now kind of putting this new journey?
I feel like sometimes things need to happen the way that it needs to. We've been talking about collaborating, somehow, some way with some kind of a podcast. You've been hounding myself and our friend Fernando for the previous football season about like doing this podcast. And, the time finally came, and, it was the reason that we finally decided to come together and do this. And, I am very excited because I'm at a place now in my career where I'm older now, and I kind of have an idea of who I am and what I want to be. I was very resistant to the whole podcasting thing to begin with because it was always just so oversaturated. But also, you probably can relate to this as well, where people hear you work in radio and like everyone's like, oh, I've always wanted to do this, or I wanted to do a podcast, and they always expected you to do it for them. Yeah. And with this, I knew it was something that where both of us had the will to want to do it together. And, to talk about something as dear to our hearts as the beloved Chicago Bears, being older and never really witnessing the Bears winning a Super Bowl in my lifetime, it's very satisfying to see this team make a move to where that could come to fruition. Like we might live in a world where our future Bam Bam or Pebbles will know what it feels like to have a franchise, a franchise quarterback, to know what winning is like. And that's just, it's very satisfying. I'm very excited. I did a whole lot of inappropriate things and a text message to my best friend yesterday when the Fields thing happened. Like I literally text my best friend because he spends his time between Chicago and Columbus. So, he's very much connected to like OSU. He doesn't he never really cared for many OSU players, let alone quarterbacks. And I told him, like, look, I know how you feel about Ohio State quarterbacks. And this was before like the Bears made like it was the trade announcement. I was like, but if somehow the Bears managed to steal Justin Fields, I'm going to be insufferable. Not even 10 minutes later, we get the notification that the Bears just traded with the New York Giants. And he sends me the eyeball emoji. And from there, well, let's just say if this is going to be a family show, I'm going to restrain from all of the awful things I said about like people, certain players from the past who have not been saying kind things in the media lately.
That
I was letting the hammer off.
Yeah, I got very ignorant, Everett. I got ignorant. No, the neighbors knew that the Bears did something good. I let the whole neighborhood know that what was going on, that we were bearing down. And yeah, it's great to see the fandom excited. It's great to see football excited. You know, I was speaking to this about a while ago to a friend of the show on Sports from the Couch, Paul Shivari, over at Baseball Weekend Journal. I mentioned to him, football is better. The NFL is better when certain teams are good, including like the Raiders, the Bears. Say what you will, when the Jets are interesting, it's better, whether it's the New York market or the franchise. And I think the Bears just not being interesting because they have a good defense with Khalil Mack, or because maybe they have an interesting coach that's going to bring a new scheme. It's the talented guy out there. And I think that's the one interesting aspect of it, is that it's not just, you know, we're hoping with it, and it's legitimate potential. It's just not people trying to sell us goods. We can actually see the goods. We've seen them in action. And I think for you, you know, what is it, the Eddie Murphy line, I'm not going to fall for the banana and the tailpipe again? It's like, I think that's the difference this time around compared to Mitch, is I've seen the goods and I feel the positivity. It might not work out. We know it's the NFL. We know it's the draft. But I think just the goodwill is towards Justin Fields and that talent, not necessarily to Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy, but that somebody on the field might actually make an impact.
Yeah, for sure. It's that genuine excitement. You know, it definitely feels like you know, whatever deity it may be, the football gods, or you know, maybe some brujeria happened, but it's like they realized the sins of our past in 2017. They was like, we're going to give you a do-over, a complete do-over.
So don't Mac Jones it up.
Yeah, like, so do not squander this. All right. So you get another shot at this. Instead of a Mike, get your Andy Dalton. Instead of your Mitch, you know, you get your Justin Fields, and try to do this right. You know, and
you know, it's interesting, Everett, because with all this, I think the excitement not only is up, but I think people's expectations go up a little bit. And on this show, and, you know, name pending, don't worry, construction signs putting over, we're going to decide, it's going to be nailed down as we go on, especially since, you know, the ultimate news was dropped that I had no idea that Everett and I live so damn close to each other. So stay tuned for that this summer. That should be fun. But with that, you know, we're going to talk major topics. I don't want this show to be, you know, just the stereotypical, let's talk stats, let's do this. If you guys have followed me on Sports from the Couch, that's not what we're about. I want to talk about what we're feeling, the emotions, what the streets are saying, what's it running through here, how we're feeling. So throughout the weeks, we're just going to kind of talk about, as Peter Griffin would say, what's grinding our gears, what is in our membranes going out there and rattling through. And the first thing that I thought when we went through this draft pick was, okay, your quarterback room now is Justin Fields, a first-round draft pick, Andy Dalton, a free agent that you spend money on, and Nick Foles, so you spent money on and gave up draft capital. Thank you, Ryan Pace. So we have an idea that Andy Dalton is quote-unquote QB1. Thank you, Twitter, for the Chicago Bears. So are we going to see Justin Fields early? Is this going to be a situation like Russell Wilson where he got in there after training camp? Or is this going to be something where we're going to wait a few weeks, and with the extra game and the extra playoff spot, maybe you try to get that experience? When the draft pick kind of settled, what are you thinking is going to happen in that QB room?
Like, if I'm speaking for myself personally, I feel like they're in a better situation where they can redshirt Justin Fields. Like, I don't think Andy Dalton's going to do anything to lose you games. I don't really think he's also do anything to necessarily win you games. You know, he's like that porridge where he's just right.
For mediocrity, right?
And so, like, he's your Alex Smith. And so, like, you have this opportunity where you can bring Justin along slowly. Like, you don't have the pressure where you're a Zach Wilson and you're thrown into the fire immediately. You know, so I would prefer to see him brought along slowly. But I mean, if it turns out to be a situation like with Russell Wilson, which that was something with my homies too, where I smelt the Russell mania, where I think he was like the third string behind Matt, the late Tavares Jackson, was it?
And you got to remember, Matt Flynn came off of a crazy, run after Aaron Rodgers. So this was somebody who had a lot of hype. It's not like he went in there with somebody who, didn't just get paid, but had some backing behind that. And Russ was just undeniable. And I think for you, that's something that's going to be really important, I think, to see from Justin Fields is, okay, you got to be undeniable. These guys have money behind them and a lot of money, but you got to make it that Matt Nagy, who's probably on the hot seat, right? I mean, people may think differently, but I still think Matt Nagy is much more on the hot seat now than he was before because this is his guy. So do you think that's kind of where it's going to end up playing off this training camp?
Like, I'm going back to what you said. He has to be undeniable, like to the point where like you can't justify him backing up Andy Dalton when you're seeing with your own eyes that he's clearly better than him, like today. And so if that happens where your hand is forced, then you go for it. And I mean, you have that luxury though, where like Andy Dalton he's not bad. He's not good. He's just right.
You're so nice. You're way too nice, I think. But he's better than, let's say, Nick Foles, right? Like,
he's
they are going better than that.
Like, look, if he hadn't, hurt in Dallas and then caught the Rona, like we'd be speaking differently about his time with the Cowboys because they caught on late towards the end. Like, he's a former 3-time Pro Bowler. He won 10 games like 5 seasons straight, I believe. So he's not a slouch by any means. But, I think the narrative about him is that everything around him has to be working.
That's true. And like, if you can only get so far with talents like an AJ Green, it does put into question what you could do with Allen Robinson. But as we know, when you got somebody that is like an Andy Dalton, it is going to be how you build your team around him. And I think in the case right now, best case scenario for the Bears might be that you end up 4-4. You're 3-5, something like that, where you can go to the kid, but you're not necessarily struggling. And I think for the Bears, they kind of wanted to go that way because you did give up a first-round draft pick for next year. I want to get your thoughts on that, though. So we have what the switch was, and I have the actual moves that were moved. So to move up 9 spots, the Bears had to send their 2022 first-round pick, a 2021 fifth-round pick, and a 2022 fourth-round pick to the Giants. And then they obviously got the 20th overall. See, to me, right, it doesn't really matter. I understand not giving the benefit of the doubt to Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy when it comes to the draft, but it doesn't matter if the investment ends up working out. You may spend a lot of money for a loan to rebuild your house, right? And at the time, it may cost you a lot, but in the long run, you've ended up having a better investment. Your house is worth more. And I think that's going to be a thing with a Justin Fields. It's like, if it works out, again, this is with the caveat of it is the NFL draft. We don't know. But what do you think about when you heard what the trade was? Were you falling under the camp that, yeah, it's a lot, but it's what you have to do, or it's just way too much to begin with?
Well, so I'm going to operate with the mindset that the if is a when it works out. So we'll keep up with optimistic O'Neal.
Yeah, we're in that multiverse, right?
So when I look at it from that perspective, they gave up less to get him than they would have when they were trying to grab Russ, who is 10 years older, right. And you probably really had like a smaller window to try to win with him, in that time period. With Fields, I mean, you got probably a legit 15 years of excellence, you know, because once again, you know, with a player like Andy Dalton, everything around him needs to be right. With Fields, it's, to me, as long as you have someone like him, you're always in the fight.
Yep. 100%.
And that's literally the difference. Like, he is that, you know, franchise changing player where you win in spite of, you know, those weapons around you. Like, Jordan Love ain't about to win with the weapons that Aaron Rodgers have, with the same weapons that Aaron Rodgers been winning with.
You know, it's interesting. So when you saw that part of the draft where we see that Aaron Rodgers is saying that he wants to either go to the Broncos, the Raiders, the Niners, you know, it's that in itself is a huge story. But what I find interesting, and we talk about positivity, you know, we got optimistic O'Neal over here. And, you know, I kind of want to go down that road a little bit, because if we want to be honest, all of a sudden, if Aaron Rodgers is out of this division and you're playing against Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins, and Jordan Love, in a matter of a moment, the Bears have the best quarterback prospect in the division. And that's worth what they gave up in the NFL draft.
That'll be worth it. And then on top of that, you have a stud quarterback in the third biggest market. And so people are going to want to come and play here because of who's behind center.
Yeah, and it's kind of the recruitment thing. It's the same reason DeAndre Hopkins was willing to go to Arizona. J.J. Watt was ready to go to Arizona. It's when you have somebody that looks
everybody
special.
wanted to go to Tampa Bay last year.
And look what happens. If people still want to go to Tampa Bay. You know, it's a thing. It's when you have that game changer, Kansas City, you know, they make this huge trade to protect Patrick Mahomes. And then in the outlier, right? If you're a Bears fan and it was a Freudian slip, it's Deshaun Watson, because at one point we were envious of having a Deshaun Watson. But at this point, the nightmare that's going on with the Houston Texans and then all the stuff around Deshaun, it's a lot. And all of a sudden now you're looking at the Bears, the Chicago Bears, as people are going to be envious. And until he takes a snap, people are going to be envious of the Chicago Bears and their quarterback room. Did you ever think, you and I are roughly the same age, and the only time I've seen real success for the Bears is when they went to the 06-07 Super Bowl with that team, right? Jay Cutler messing up his knee and everybody destroying him when they were in the NFC Championship. We don't know a lot. And then the embarrassments on Nickelodeon, which I will never forgive him for. So we have this team now where it's like, I can't believe they're a bright spot in the NFL at quarterback. But I promise I will stop railing on the front office and I will stay positive. We are talking about optimistic O'Neal here. You are keeping me on the straight and narrow. But my brother, we've done it. The first episode of whatever amazing project we're working on. It's going to be a fun time. We're going to get through all the different technical and timing difficulties. But at some point, we're going to have a great reunion, better than Justice League. Maybe not as good as Infinity War, but somewhere in between. So maybe like Ant-Man, maybe Captain America and the Winter Soldier, somewhere in between there. But it's going to be all right. I shouldn't promise people things. You're right. But I'm having a wonderful time with getting this thing going. And I think
it'll be a good reunion for us.
Just in general. I mean, people don't even, you know what? Bunk everybody else. It's just about us seeing each other. Yeah. Just y'all want radio classics. Not me.
Yeah, no, people don't really know the history. We started as like GAs at the broadcasting school we graduated from, and we would talk about this. I remember we had like the working title of like Minority Retort.
Oh my God. Are you really bringing that up to the people right now?
Yeah, we had the Black and Brown connection. So
damn. Well, we're putting that on a t-shirt, so that now is a thing. So you guys can look forward to that at the Mercado Airwave Teespring website.
This is literally like, I want to say like 10 years almost in the making.
Isn't it crazy?
Your graduation anniversary is coming up from the broadcasting school.
Yeah, I'm August of 2011. So yeah. Damn, so we're old, but that's all right though. It's crazy. 10 years later, and we're still better looking than we ever have been, and we're better than we ever been, but we're still not as rich as we should be. But we're rich in love and in friendship, and that's all that matters. And we're
That's why I
rich
gotta,
in fandom, my friend,
yeah.
because the Chicago Bears have a brand new quarterback. Let's wrap this bad boy up. Everett, what are your final thoughts? We'll be back next week to talk about everything that fallout from the rest of the draft, any craziness that might happen up north. But good vibes, babe. Good vibes. Your final thoughts of the Chicago Bears.
Well, I've had a little under 24 hours to finally process, and I'm just I'm excited. I'm elated. I know Fields hasn't played a snap yet, and we haven't seen how the rest of the draft is going to play out. But it just feels like something is different, coming our way season. And I know we're very down about it. They didn't trust this front office or let alone the coach to get it right. I know people have been down on Pace. I usually kind of keep quiet about my thoughts on Ryan Pace. I don't dislike him like many others do. Um, yeah. Uh,
Yeah. Sorry,
but
Ryan. You did good
I,
though. You did good.
because Mystic O'Neil have a lot of patience too, and so I'm willing to like see it through. They kind of, I feel like, and this is just me. I don't know how much time in this window I have with the final thoughts, but I feel like they're trying to follow the model of like the Steelers and even like the Saints, really, where Mick has been in that same position.
Yeah.
Since like the Saints started being good again, and like Mickey Loomis was the general manager for some periods when the Saints were stinking, but you see it through, and so you can't just give someone the X when it's those times of adversity. You want to see like what this person can do as well. And so I mean, that's just me. I already know like eventually there's going to come these comments where people are just going to dunk on me because I'm probably like that irrational fan, and you can kiss my behind. I know who I am.
And he's gonna block. He'll literally just block you at the rim. So try to dunk on him. And if
and
you do
so
get past him, I'll elbow you because I'm dirty.
Yeah, and so like I understand how I'm sounding, so you don't need to tell me about myself because I know this. But overall, man, I'm really excited about Fields, and I also hope this stops this narrative about the Bears and black quarterbacks. I
Well,
hope I hope people shut their mouths and leave it alone because they did it. It's happened,
finally.
and it's going to happen. Finally, it's about time. It's one they got a quarterback, but a franchise quarterback at that. You get your
Thank you.
2 for 1. You get a 2 for 1. You get your franchise quarterback, and he's a black one at that.
And you might have avoided getting a monster. So like you might have just saved it from scaring Virginia from, drafting Deshaun. So thank you again, football gods, for giving
Yeah,
us a
like
wonderful young man who's going to be a stud on the field.
yeah, from the comps that I've heard, and I mean it might be lazy comps, but I've heard like a faster, thicker Deshaun. I've also heard like someone with Russell Wilson's skill sets and Cam Newton's body. And so let me tell you something. If it's the latter, if he has Russell Wilson's skill sets and Cam Newton's body, I'm going to be insufferable for the next 15 years. You
Oh,
understand me?
oh my! You don't listen to this show. Hey, I'm telling you guys, excuse me, do not listen to this show if that's the case.
Like
Oh
there will
my
be
God.
random arguments happening that has nothing to do with anything. Like if I ended up, because I'm a single man, but if I have a girlfriend, right, and she tells me like, "Hey, babe, you forgot to take the chicken out the freeze," I'm gonna be like, "Babe, Justin Fields is the quarterback of the Chicago Bears. You're not going to just talk to me any kind of way." That's how that's going to be. Okay.
Hey, listen, my Lambo is blue, but my quarterback is black, and I am happy about that. That is for sure, my brother. I am having so much fun. This has been a long time coming. There might be some surprises along the way, and this is going to be a wonderful journey. It will grow, and it will be a wonderful time because the Bears, Everett, have a potential franchise quarterback. Uh, You want to plug anything? I know you got some amazing work that you do, not only Monday through Fridays, but some fun work you do during the weekends. Anything you're working on, anything you want to plug, social media, the peoples want to see you, anything to support you?
You can catch me weekends on Lake County's 3XLC. I'm on Saturday nights to midnight and Sundays from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. where I broadcast under the name Bodie. If you want, you can follow me on IG as well at Bodie World Peace. No relation to Meta.
He is one of my favorite humans on this planet, and now I get to say he is one of my favorite partners and co-hosts in this planet and in this medium. Everett, enjoy the rest of your week, enjoy the rest of the draft, and enjoy Justin Fields being your quarterback of the Chicago Bears. And to all
Awesome.
of you, yes, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Please take care of yourself, take care of each other, and you as well enjoy the fact that your franchise quarterback is Justin Fields. For Everett O'Neill, I'm Mike Mercado. We will see you next time.
Bear down.